We are so spoiled here in Northwest Ohio. We have so much great theater all the time happening. If there's not a show going on, there's some other event where people are just sitting around singing, probably just having a great time. We have so many kinds of people who work in the industry, who contribute to the theater that we love so much, that we're not running out of stuff to talk about. I love the fact we just keep cranking these out every Friday. However, if you work in the industry, or you have a theater show coming up, or you have anything that has to touch with theater at all, hey man, message us. Get a hold of us. Let us know. Hey, we want to be on the show. We can't think of everything. We're just normal dudes after all. Remember that. So you have to help us out sometimes. You got something going on, you let us know. We'll reach back and try and get you onto the show probably, okay? So just send that message.
So who the heck are we talking to?
Oh,
right
yeah,
now?
yeah. So today, that's pretty cool because we got actually somebody on the show who's actually covered us first.
Yes.
So he comes over here, he brings a camera guy with him, talks to us about how cool we are, which is obviously true. I mean,
yeah.
He's looking at me. Yeah. He's not going to say anything. I'm trying to goad him, but he's not saying a damn thing.
No, it is true. When I came over here a couple of weeks ago, we had a great time. I kind of felt bad because when the kids from TSA were coming over here, like you and I, us three were talking and laughing, telling stories. I was like, I guess I gotta leave for the, so these guys could be interviewed. Then we were like, but a little bit longer. We'll share some more stories.
So we're like, we gotta get your ass back over here and talk about this kind of stuff. So you write for the Blade, you do a theater column, but is that all? Is that your main thing, or you do other stuff while you're there?
So even since the last time I was here, things changed. So when I was first over here, I was basically I always tell people I'm like the Blade's firefighter. They keep me kind of locked in the at the station, and then when there's an emergency, they kind of wheel me out, and let me do whatever it is that they need, and they put me back in. So for now, I'm actually the education reporter for the Blade. So I cover K through 12 schools, and I cover higher education, so UT, BGSU. And
so did we bring the wrong guy on there?
Yeah, no. But the nice thing is that I keep my theater column.
Okay,
so for the past year and a half, I've been the Blade's theater columnist, writing about all of the things going on in the local theater scene.
A year and a half already?
Yeah, it's been that long. I came on about 2-3 months before COVID really hit, so we were just sort of getting into here are the shows going to be going on this summer. We're gearing up for the new season, and then everything.
So perfect timing.
Yeah. And then I was just like, how the heck are we going to cover, what's going on in theater? There's no live theater.
So how did you do it?
There was live. One of the things we did was we started focusing on what different theaters were doing, during this time. For instance, over at the Croswell, they were doing, the distant, everybody was doing monologues and sort of sharing what they were working on.
Online.
Yeah, online. The Children's Theater Workshop was trying to work with the kids and figure out, all that, socially distanced. Okay, sign up for these classes, and then we'll all get on Zoom. Now everyone hates trying to learn things through Zoom, but back then, anything was better than nothing.
Yeah, anything was better.
Actually,
than
you
nothing.
kind of had some unique, cool material because of COVID in that way. Because normally you wouldn't do anything like this. You were doing all sorts of weird stuff. Sounds like.
Well, and what's funny is that I work in the big the big metropolis that is Toledo, Ohio. But when I got my start in journalism, I mainly covered small towns. I worked for weeklies, and I worked for dailies that covered maybe a group of small towns. So small town this is sort of like small town journalism, because when you work for a small newspaper and you have to fill all these pages, then you go, okay, well, time to cover the Salvation Army Bell Ringer Award again, which is great,
That's a huge deal, man.
Yeah, the Salvation Army does.
I haven't won it once. I've been robbed.
Yeah, were you really?
Well, no.
Oh.
I've never rang a bell in my life. I'm just being an ass. So
Yeah. But I mean, what's funny is that's the thing about small town newspapers is that they do big features on all of those
I'm from
things.
a small town, though. I am. So I'm from.
see?
Yeah. I mean, I say I'm from Fostoria, but really I'm from Rising Sun. So I would say I'm from Rising Sun / Fostoria because I lived in an area that was just in the middle of the country. So our paper was the Fostoria Review Times. So anybody listening to this, I lived on like Bradner Road, which is a city. So Bradner Road, I had a Rising Sun phone number and a Fostoria zip code. It was really confusing because it's, lived on North Township Road 63. It's all this weird kind of stuff going on. So I understand the small towns and just like the pride that they have in what they're doing. And yes, when the paper came out and talked about the football team and the starting lineups, it was a huge deal.
Yeah, when I first became a theater columnist, which at the Blade was sort of a, we can get into that here in a second. It was sort of like a kind of a weird series of events where they approached me and asked me if I would like to cover them. But one of the things I said was, well, I would like to cover more of the high schools. We never cover the high school theater, scene as much. And boy, I did not stop and think about what a task that was.
Yeah,
just because
here,
many.
like when you work at a small newspaper, you're probably gonna cover. Oh, there's like 3 high schools in this area. Here there's like 20.
Yeah.
So
at least.
So getting even getting Toledo Public Schools to all on board to be like, oh, send me all of the theater shows that you're. That's huge.
It is huge. Can you send us that list too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all do their shows on the same day almost, or the same month.
They do, and then obviously Perrysburg has a good thing going. Then you got TSA stays busy.
That's the thing. So you didn't take on just schools. You took on some really hardcore schools. Northview has 5 shows a year at least, I think. 4 or 5. They do stuff in the summer. They're so hardcore. And
what's difficult with that is, I've been doing this for about a year and a half, and I still haven't gotten all of my contact information out. That's part of, the difficulty too, is reminding people, send us the stuff that you're doing, because a lot of people don't think about that.
Oh,
Even
that
schools.
sounds familiar, doesn't it? Ron?
Yeah.
Everybody out there, send your info.
Just anything. Like we reach out to directors of schools, directors of places, and I get it. They're busy. We sure you're so busy. We get it, but at the same time, it's like we just want to bug you for a little bit, And schools are difficult too because they all have to work usually through their public information person, so everything has to funnel through them. So first you have to go. Okay, I'm gonna. Geez, I didn't even know that. Yeah, so we're rookies. Well, and some of them operate a little bit more loosely than that, but a lot of them are. They're just like, hey, like, let's funnel all of this through one person, and then you're like, okay, can you tell, like, the 40 high schools in your system to send everything to Jeff Schmucker at theblade.com, know, and it's just like, okay, I'll, like, forward this along a little bit, but... yeah, it can be kind of brutal, actually, just trying to get with somebody, because they are kids. You don't want to. For us, when we do our interviews, we want to, make sure that we're old men. We can't have like these 17-year-old kids with us without. It's like let's do it all on the up and up. We got to be smart about it. Well, and that's sort of like when you guys had Lily Buck on here a couple of weeks ago. When a little bit of background, like I got my start into this area with theater by actually doing the Christmas Carol. And I got into that because both my kids wanted to be in it. But my daughter's actually been in it for... Okay, hold on. Okay, so she's been doing it since like 2016. And so I had jumped in because both my kids were doing it. And my father-in-law, Scott Grostefan, and his daughter, Ella Grostefan, had been in it since... going way back. But Bella Luna, when she jumped in and did it, she was that little girl that goes underneath the desk. Oh, she was the girl under the desk? Yeah. Scrooge won't be able to do that to her anymore. She's getting ready to turn 12 here soon.
But did Scrooge make her cry in real life?
No, because I torture both my kids enough that they're usually pretty used. In fact, my son jumped over and gave Paul a hug. He when he first got to know him, he wasn't scared of him at all. Nice. Yeah.
And he does. So both of them. You said how many kids you got?
I have two.
Okay.
So I have Bella Luna, and then my son is Thor.
And they're nice, solid name.
Thanks.
No pressure on him at all.
No.
And they run up to Paul and give him a hug.
Oh yeah, they love Paul.
Okay,
I mean, he is great. He's as
But they roped you in. I mean, so they're little though. So you must have had some sort of desire already then to do it.
Okay, so we'll go back. So before I became a journalist, I thought I wanted to be an actor. So I did high school theater. I did theater whenever I was like 10. I think going on up, and so in high school, I thought I wanted to do it, and actually I had a not the greatest experience with the person in charge of theater at that time. And
we drop a lot of names on here, so
not that name.
I won't drop her name because she died. It's been a long time since I've been in high school.
Gotcha.
But she retired, then she passed away some years later. But at that time, she was, she had been doing it for like 30 some years, and
lost the passion. Maybe
yeah,
a little bit.
lost everything. And I remember I was in, I want to say 11th grade, and we were doing this production. I think it was called "Is Love Everything?" And so after practice or during a break, I had said that I wanted to do theater, and she kind of scoffed at me, and she was like, "Oh, you would have to show me a lot more talent before I recommended you for theater."
Oh,
and
great.
at that point, it just snuffed it. I was just
It took one person in a position of influence to crush you.
I mean, maybe she was right. I don't know. No, but that's kind of the scary thing is, as a teacher, you never know like what passing comment, that kid's going to remember you for life.
It's true.
You had one bad day, and you said something to some kid, and you were just like, you know what, you keep doing that, you're never going to amount to anything, and that kid remembers that
of course
for life.
Of course.
But then she also, during the musical, it was her, for the spring, it was her last year there. And she cast all of the main parts, except for like maybe two, of not current high school students, but former students. So like these guys are like in their 30s and 40s.
She did this alumni bullshit show?
Yes. Yeah. And so all of
Because they
us,
didn't have enough time to shine when they were in high school.
yeah, but I think she did. I just think she wanted like a last hurrah. She didn't want to deal with annoying high school kids, which I don't always blame her. But in any case, she did that, and I was just like, this is such, like you said, this is bullshit. Like this is a high school, performance with hardly any high schoolers in it.
So you went into writing about theater so you could expose these evil villains.
So these evil, yeah.
You should. The hypocrisy.
I'm like the Lois Lane of the theater world.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, what's funny is that I did go into, I will say this, I went into college and I thought about doing theater, but what I learned, I went to a small college called Radford University in Radford, Virginia, near Virginia Tech, for those of you who follow college football. So,
Which we do.
for all those Hokie fans out
right.
there.
Let's do a podcast about college football.
But
Something we actually know and
Yeah.
can talk about.
yeah. No, I don't know anything about football. I just,
Ron and I do. So
Yeah.
we can do that.
you know what? Maybe I should start a podcast saying, I don't know anything about football, but I know two people who do. I'm
There
going to
you go.
interview them about everything going on. No, you know what? I really did learn when I was in college that people who love theater, they really love like everything about it, like doing the lights and electricity to building the sets. And that wasn't me. I didn't like any of that stuff. And
So he goes out for theater.
Yeah, we just talked to somebody who is exactly that, who's just a passion. She didn't care. She was like, I'm going to do this. And then she was doing that. And she was like, wait, what are you guys doing over there? I need to know that. And then she was like, wait, no, what are you guys doing over there? So, yeah, you're right.
yeah, I mean, because those are the people who will like go into a small theater and go, okay, I want to do this show, so I know I need to build this. I'm going to set up the lights this way. I need this sound and da-da-da-da-da. Versus all I wanted to know was how to act good. That's all I wanted to do. And so I kind of got out of that, and I kind of fell into journalism. My brother went to the same college, and he was briefly in media studies, and he was taking some of the classes, and he goes, you know what, I think Jeff would really like this. This seems like really up his alley, and so I gave it a shot. I was like, I really do like print journalism and this, that, and the other.
Turns out your brother actually knows you.
He does. He knows me really well. He
lived with you for a while, so figured out who you were.
He's about 2.5, 3 years older than me, and we grew up. We were pretty tight. But whereas I'm, really nerdy, and he was the opposite. He was like AC Slater from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So he was a state wrestling champion, and he was like all state
Looked like
football.
He was 25 when he was 17.
No, we have like baby faces, like we really do. But he even had like a little bit of like that mullet going on, at one time. So
well, what year was it? We all did.
This was 97.
Oh, that's too late.
That's when he.
That's way too late.
Yeah, that was way too late.
No. It has to be 90 or 91.
I know.
97, he hung on to that a little too long.
I grow a natural mullet, and I a couple of times I let my hair grow, and one of the times was in high school, and that was just a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm. So. I grow a natural Bozo the Clown, so I always have to shave it down. Like right now, it's really way too much, and if I let it go, I'll look like Bozo the Clown. Be like, hey.
But
It's not good.
But no, so we've been meandering. So that's sort of how I got my start, and I did like a lot of choir in college, and then when I graduated and I was working for a daily newspaper out in Atchison, Kansas, I got involved in the theater scene. That was sort of like my outside thing to do. I was basically in like every show, like back to back to back. I would just try out and do it. And then we'll probably swing back to this here in a second.
No, it's great. See, I love this whole meandering. Like, how did you become who you are is why we want you on.
Well, then I'll keep going.
It is. It's like, well, how the hell do you become a
writer
for theater productions? Well, because you were young and you loved theater and you were going to be Michael J. Fox, damn it. And then the teacher said, no, you actually suck. You're like that Stoltz guy that we cast originally in Back to the Future, but you're terrible, so you're gone.
I could have been the next Rick Moranis or something.
Rick
It's like, oh, gee, guys, really?
But then one teacher said, you're not very good.
Well,
and you had to find something else.
And you know what? I did, community theater for a while, and, I was a decent singer. I always joke, if you're a tenor and you're a guy and you're a tenor, then you're basically like the magical unicorn of the choir world.
Just walk in.
Well, just as a guy, you're already beautiful. Yeah.
And they throw it at you.
And if you can sing, then you're really desired. And then if you're a tenor...
Yeah.
Oh well,
that's what I say. You're the magical unicorn of all the male people out there. It's like, oh my gosh, a guy who can sing, really high.
Yeah, a guy who would show up to rehearsal
already
already wins. So
yeah. But otherwise, I wasn't like all that talented. So,
but other than being like having testicles, the rest of me is not that good. So.
Here's what I've, because I'm almost 40 now. So, and even talking with my mother and talking with my brother, like I think my talent level would have been being on like a kid's show, like Blue's Clues or like, what is it? The Muskrat Brothers or whatever those guys are, where they have like the little
Wiggles?
The Wiggles.
Maybe the Wiggles
The
too.
Muskrat Brothers? What the hell country's that from?
The Riskrat Brothers, the ones who do like all the animal stuff. They
I don't know, man.
Monkey.
Oh, no. Nope. Wait, is that the lemur?
Yeah.
Guy? What was that? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But they're actual scientists, man.
Yeah. But
actual zoologists who know
not
shit.
actors.
Yeah.
No, they're not actors. They just happen to have that personality to go with it.
But I think that would have been like the extent of my talent would have been like, hi, it's me, Steve. They're in the living room, like, hey, kids. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah.
Pee-wee.
No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. One of my favorite shows was the one with Robin Williams where he was the hell was that show?
Oh, are you talking about the show?
The Smoochie show. That's just crazy hilarious. It's inappropriate. Everybody should watch it. Death to Smoochie. Watch it. You should be there. You are. You could be Death to Smoochie.
That's what I'm still waiting.
A couple people listening to this podcast will know what I'm talking about. So.
Everyone's gonna stop and like go on Google.
Yeah.
And start Googling
it's hilarious. It's a Robin Williams movie. So.
But But yeah, so I would do some of these shows, but what's funny is like when you go to like a small town area and you're doing theater, you run into, these situations where, a lot of the same people are all doing the shows and they're taking turns directing the shows, and they're casting their friends who cast them as leads in like the other shows. Not that I was, the most talented in like a lot of those and should have gotten those parts. I think that's actually why it worked, because they're like, oh, Jeff is willing to do the small role again because it's Jeff and he works covering city council meetings. You can't, be here all the time anyway. But man, like some of those shows, like when you run into those, like all of a sudden there's more drama backstage than on stage. And what happened with me was we were doing the show. I wish I could remember what it was called, but basically the point of the show was it was about this small theater group. Like, they're running out of money. Like it was really shoestring budget. And they were trying to put on the annual Christmas Carol production, and everything that you can think could go wrong, like does. Like Tiny Tim is, like 15 years old and his voice changed, so they're trying to figure out something to go like with that.
Took up smoking,
He's like, okay, where do you guys want me to go? and just all of these, characters are, just sort of zany. And what was going on in real life was that they decided to mix things up and bring in new blood. And so they brought in this director from St. Joseph, Missouri, and all of the cast members hated him, because he was somebody different. He did things different. I mean, I think one of your nightmares as a director is to go, okay, this is what, I envision with this, and all of a sudden everyone goes, that's not the way I would do it. Like that's,
oh, no,
it's like, oh really? Like, do you know what you're doing? Like, I would do it this way,
I am an actor.
Oh, I'm an actor,
They need to have their inspiration. What's my inspiration?
Yeah, what's my, which is
for this scene over here.
Which is taboo. You're never supposed to do that. And the main reason I think the director liked me is because I wasn't like that. I was sort of an outsider like he was. In fact, one time he was, after a rehearsal, he was outside smoking a cigarette trying to stay calm. He's like, are you from here? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm from here. He's like, good. He didn't even let me finish. He's like, good. He goes, these people are insane. Like, how do you... And so in real life, you had all this drama and these people yelling at each other. It was like very, very difficult.
They were just in character.
What city was this?
This was oh god, I almost feel bad. No, this was Atchison, Kansas.
Never gonna hear this in Atchison, Kansas. I didn't even know that was a city.
They might.
Oh, you're gonna send it right to them. Probably,
oh, I
right?
will.
Okay, good.
But I will say, Theater Atchison is real, which is the name of the group that was doing this. They've done amazing things since I left. They've done like a lot of different partnerships, and they've really grown. They do a lot of really good shows.
All right, enough of that.
Anyway, back to the dirt. Back to the dirt. But
they're really sweet people. Boring.
They are. Well, the guy who runs it is great. Travis Grossman is his name. And so anyway, I mean, all of the bad things, like beyond what's in the script, like all this crap started happening outside. We had a guy who was supposed to play like the ghost of Jacob Marley. Well, he got a DUI and he was out. He was out on bond or something anyway. So after he got this DUI, he like ran from the cops and just did. I think he called and was like, "I gotta go. I'm not gonna be in the show."
That is so Atchison. I'm telling you, man. It's so Atchison. I mean, that's all I hear about that.
Yeah, that's gonna live forever and ever.
Of course.
And I don't know, just other stuff like that just kept happening. This was like 2 weeks before the show. And I was sitting there thinking, I was just like, man, they should make a script about this, about a show where everything goes wrong, but in real life, everything keeps going wrong, and there's all this drama behind the drama.
Yes.
So,
Did you take notes? You should write it.
I really should.
You should. Absolutely do it. Did you take a drink?
Oh, I should.
Yes, take your drink. That's why we have these.
Straight from Kansas to here.
Straight from Kent. No, I took some detours. No, but after that, like there was so much with that drama that I actually swore off theater. I said, I'm not doing any more community theater. Oh. This has been crazy.
Not writing about it, not thinking about it. My kids aren't going to be in it.
You know, covering the community, I would cover theater because who else usually is going to cover this stuff? I mean, we cover high school sports, but nobody covers theater. And you know, so of course,
they do in Northwest Ohio. They make podcasts about it.
I know, right? Right. So fast forward about like 12, 15 years. I haven't done any shows in forever. And then my kids are like, hey, we want to do Christmas Carol
15 years. So this all happened when you were 17.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Okay, all right.
Exactly. And, it's probably about 15 years later. And, like I said, my father-in-law's going back into the show. My daughter wants to try out again for the show. My son was 6 years old. And he's like, I want to try this for the first time. They're like
6 years old.
He was 6 years old. This was his very first show. And so they're like, if you do it, Dad, we'll have 3 generations of Lammy, Grosafon, like all of these doing this show. And so I did, and it was great. You know,
wasn't that hard of an arm twist, didn't sound like, though.
No, I mean,
it's not like you hadn't done it before. It's not like you didn't have a passion for it.
I had done it before, but what was funny was I was actually hoping that I wouldn't get a main part just because my daughter was really shooting for a main part, and I didn't want to get one and then have her not get it.
Gotcha.
So it was because that way it was.
So how old was your daughter?
All right, hold on. She's about to turn 12.
Just guess. You can guess. It's okay.
2 years. I mean, you're talking 2 years ago. She was about 9, 10 years old.
So 9, 10. And as a girl at 9, 10, unless she's tiny, she could do Tiny Tim.
Yeah, she couldn't. She was going for a Cratchit kid.
I say, yeah, she'd have to be one of the younger Cratchit girls.
Probably.
Yeah.
And you got the Cratchit girl instead of her?
Yeah, that was hard.
That's embarrassing. Yeah.
That was hard. You know, she got beat out, but that's one of the things I really do like about theater is there are a lot of really good teachable moments in it because, in that case she was like, I got beat out like for this part, but I have this experience, and I'm like, Belluna, your dad's done theater forever and ever. I was president of the Thespian Society in high school. I didn't get a main part. Oh, yes, the Thespians.
Well, how many shows had she done up to that point? She said all this experience. She's only 12.
Mainly she had just done that show, and that was the thing I told her. I said, you are getting beaten out by kids who do other shows all year.
I have done 3 shows. I have all of this experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by that age, my son had done more than 3.
Yeah.
So, but she kept at it.
Yeah.
She has kept at it. She is
because Dad told her, suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Teaching moment.
And she did. She's she kind of learned. And now she's in Toledo School of the Arts where they're helping, learn more about, trying out for shows.
Wait, how old is she?
She is about the church. She's in 7th grade.
7th grader. So last year she had a great 6th grade virtual year.
Yeah.
And then this year she's finally able to be in the school building.
For the first time.
Yeah. For the first time forever.
So you made it to writing for the Blade, and COVID, even with the COVID, a year and a half you've been writing about theater in Toledo. What have you concluded or discovered, or what are you learning about the scene in Toledo?
I am always learning. When I started at the Blade, I was the night city editor. So I was like going in. I was going in at 3:00 in the afternoon. I was leaving at 11:00. So I was helping basically copy edit stories, or I would go to reporters and say, I'm not sure I understand what this story is about. Like with this, I was supposed to help supervise. And like if there was breaking news, I would say, hey, we got this.
You could scream, stop the presses?
No, yeah. I always wanted to say that.
3 a.m, stop the presses. Something huge just happened.
No, it's probably stop the computer.
Stop it. Yeah. Slam it down. No, like, for instance, we had that, what was that, 2017 when we had that Charlottesville rally, and the guy who plowed his car into the crowd and
Oh, yeah,
killed
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
That guy was from Toledo, and that happened. That happened on.
I'm going to assume not a theater fan.
He was not a theater fan. He also wasn't a fan of pedestrians, apparently.
Clearly. Or stop signs.
Or stop signs. But that was big breaking news, especially for us. And so I was the editor on duty, and so I was in charge of trying to first of all verify that this guy was from Toledo, and then calling back our reporter to then send out to his mother's house and try to find
doing real journalism.
Yeah. So if reporters are the fighter pilots or the
You
exciting
didn't just
pilots,
like send something out in a tweet.
yeah, no, we
unverified, and just send it out there
It's like maybe
breaking news. First is how you win. That kind of stuff doesn't happen.
No.
You actually verify. Crap.
we
That's
had
nice
to we had to verify it, and actually at first some people were tweeting. They're like, "We know who this guy is. It's this guy." And then after like a few minutes, it's like, actually, it's not this guy.
See, that's the difference between journalism and just an idiot spouting.
right.
Because I feel like journalism is the hardest part of the whole job is, vetting, making sure. Otherwise, you are just some guy on Twitter just saying stuff.
But so you're here. What have you learned about the theater?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The theater scene.
So jumping in, I have learned. So first of all, I will say that the people around here are they definitely love theater, as you guys know. And I mean, one of the things I loved was that you didn't see all of that drama, so to speak, behind the scenes that sometimes you see in other small towns. Theater people are very resilient. I think what we saw during the pandemic is, a lot of people who were willing to jump in and try new things, anything, just to keep on performing and, to get eyes on something that they were doing in any way that they could. Some of the things that teachers are now, using and utilizing, theater people were already ahead of that. They were already going on saying, "Hey, I can try out using this. I can, shoot this video of myself." Especially young kids. Young kids are way ahead. And so I think a lot of adults, kind of had to learn that, but we're, everybody's willing, it's like, oh, there's a show. I will stream it and watch it, to support the arts.
That's the thing is they want to put on the show. They find a way to put on the show. And schmucks or people like me are like, I'll watch it. I want to see anything that's going on. I'm watching stuff that's being put on in New York City from people that I know because I just enjoy it. I just want to see it. I don't care how it's being, produced. I want to see it still.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just, I mean, I get it. It's like you could just see a movie. It's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
And, even in colleges, you saw with Matt Foss and everybody, like, for instance, from UT, they're putting on shows and they're streaming, not only, live streaming a lot of these, but they were figuring out ways to almost make it as, like it's a stage performance, but it's also sort of like a movie. They were working like around a lot of different technical difficulties.
Yeah, TSA did The Tempest, and they filmed it like a movie, but they recorded the actors doing their stuff against green screens and did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that Toledo's theater peeps are just cooler.
They are, and what really helps too is that this is such a nice hub of all of that activity.
Yes.
When, if you want to see really good live theater, you could basically come and, park right in the middle of, Lucas, Wood County, and you have, a plethora of choices to go see. Great theater. And in fact, when, at times when community theater groups weren't able to put on shows, high schools were.
Yeah.
So when I was writing about what was going on, it was like, hey, a lot of these community venues are down, but high schools they're going to keep going.
Clay was doing some good stuff. They were doing and there were some shows being produced outside.
Yes.
Because the high schools were like, well, we're not going to not do a show. So you got your what was it, St. John, St. Francis, those guys, they're doing stuff outside.
In the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TSA
And I mean-
did theirs outside. It's like these kids only have a few years to do it. So I think that maybe motivated them to get things moving.
And the moment that they, basically said, okay, here's the way you can do it. Here's how you can do it. These guys were already ahead of that. The Toledo Repertoire Theater was one of the first to do it and sort of start playing with it. But everybody is so interconnected. It's not like, oh, we're the Capulets and the Montagues. It's not like they're going to go, oh,
And
ACT,
is that unusual?
we're not going.
Is that unusual for an area? Because like Ashtabula wasn't like that, or what was the
You
name
know
of the
what-
town again?
Ashtabula.
What
Kansas.
was the name of that town? Kansas.
No, I think sometimes theater people almost have to band together because it is a small community. Actually, I think that's
we have a group in town called Actors Collaborative Toledo. I mean, they are encouraging and want people to work together,
Collaborate.
groups to collaborate together. They started a page talking about, these are shows coming up. People get on there and they talk about, hey, we're looking for this, an old 19 whatever TV. Does anybody have it? And people I see a lot of love and support in this area, and I guess this is where we're from. I guess I just assumed that was normal.
But I know Paul Cosman told me that that
We're
was
still supposed to go out and drink, Paul, if you're listening to this.
yes. I remember he told me that years ago there was sort of a schism between some of the different groups, but
That's all in the past, man.
It is in the
We've
past.
moved on.
And I think what everyone sort of realizes is that there's more than enough area to make art. Everybody can do different things, and you might as well just help each other.
Yes, if you do better over there, that helps us do better.
Yeah.
Now, I just-
all in this
Yeah,
together.
I've heard that. Okay, yeah, keep going.
All right, no, that's all. It's the only line I know. I'm not good enough to know anymore. So, but that's what I get from the Toledo area, and the only thing that I understand. The only thing I understand is just a group of people that from show to show to show. If my kids, because that's who were in it, and Ron's kids were in these shows, I would see them in Perrysburg, and then another show's going on over here, and I'd see them again, and I'd see them again, and there wasn't this. Well, I'm never gonna audition for this company. I'm a rep person only. I'm never gonna go for Waterville. No, that doesn't happen.
No.
And I love it. Doesn't happen.
What is intimidating about this area is the level of talent that you see. I mean, going even through TSA where your son goes through, sometimes it's just like, man, I hate these kids. They're so dang talented.
Oh, they are. I know. I
They
hate
make
them
me
too.
sick. Yes.
Like when I was in high school, it was a small, Southwest Virginia high school. We didn't have that level of talent there, so I actually had a shot at making it.
You
into
had a
any
shot.
shows.
Yeah.
If I was a student at TSA, they would be like, "Well, why don't you?"
You're gonna have to show me a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
Why don't you write about it?
Yeah, why don't you write about it? Why don't you work for the school newspaper?
Yeah. So there's no shortage for your column. You
No, I mean, sometimes there would be dry spells.
I mean, he had to interview us, so
Yeah.
he must have run out of something to talk
Something.
about.
But I think that's what's interesting. So, with a theater column, in the newspaper world, you have, for instance, like your editorials, which is usually the voice of like the newspaper saying, blue should be the state color, and here's why, and vote for this person so they can make blue the state color, like they're very much trying to convince you of something. And then you have, a columnist who might still make that argument, but it's supposed to be more on like a personal level. And then you have me who, like in my theater column, it's sort of like a weird mix because, for instance, like my editor would tell me, it's like, okay, like it's not the Jeff Schmucker hour, where you just talk about yourself or your kids or like whoever you want. Like, you make it about the community. You can make it funny and do this, that, whatever. But, don't make it like, oh, I went to see this show and la da da, and I thought about this one day, you know, da da da. But despite that, there is a lot of wiggle room to really make it your own. And had I been, for instance, a theater major who came out, I might have approached everything a little bit different. You know, I could have approached it like, oh, well, they're doing this show, and maybe would have been more of like a theater critic, like something or another. But that's not me. Like when I approach doing a lot of these things, the main thing is I never want to be bored. You know, and I'm like, I don't want my readers to be bored either.
That's kind of our main thing.
Yeah.
Well, and exactly. So when I saw...
I've turned our own No, I haven't.
Yeah.
If I'm going to turn our own podcast off, then we need to change something. I agree.
But that's the thing. Like when, before I did an article about your guys' podcast, it's like, when was the last time we did a theater column about two dads doing a theater podcast?
When was that?
Never.
Aha!
Never.
Aha!
And
The winners.
and that's the thing. So, like when I...
Aha!
yeah. So for instance, when I approach doing an actual theater column, is I want to make sure that it's not boring. It's not just your run-of-the-mills like, oh, such and such is doing another show this year.
Right.
It's like, da-da-da. I want to do it in a way that is refreshing. Usually I almost approach it like I'm doing a parody of what a theater column should be. So... And I feel like that's a lot of times in my life anyway, because even when I approach some news stories, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this at an angle that maybe we haven't done before, and this will be a little bit more humorous. So, when they did about the Dr. Seussical the musical, I wrote my call, everything rhymed. In my column, I wrote it as a rhyme.
Oh, my God. That's
Or-
a pain in the ass. I can't believe you did that. I had to be more hard.
But that was fun. Like,
okay.
I liked that. Or when they were doing... I think the Christmas story times at the Valentine. I wrote it as like a Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nice.
I do like that. The Night Before Christmas sort of poem. So I wrote at least a good chunk of it going that way before then I said, oh, and by the way, here are the story times and da da da, because I couldn't figure out how to make all that rhyme. But But then, I say, you know what, like, this is something really interesting, or, in our time of, when everyone's sort of depressed and this, that, and the other, and all these theater groups are doing something that's a nice, change of pace and something comedy. ACT is going to do something that really finds that misery point and, like, really sticks it. And I think that's interesting, and so I'm going to write about that. But, like I said, so a lot of my personality does get to play into it. You mentioned, we were talking about Lily Buck being on here. I will tell you, when I interviewed her when she was doing the Frozen Junior over at the Croswell, one of the things I did was I messaged her dad on social media, and I said, I am calling your daughter on her cell phone. This is who I am and why. Don't kill me, please. Because, you do have to think about that. It goes back to what you're saying. It's like, if some guy was trying to call my daughter and he said he was from the media, would I trust him? No.
Nah.
So you're the hated theater critic who goes around blasting performances.
Is that what you do?
Blasting performances and people.
I think there's only one show that I ever...
Hello, Dolly?
No, it was the last UT show that they did before 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Oh gosh, now I'm brain farting what the name of it was.
You just didn't appreciate the show? That's all it was? Or did you,
I
get Siskel and Ebert on them and
I gave it a good
criticize the acting?
review. It's the one that they did, I think it was called The Flick. That was a hard one to do.
The Flick.
And it was only a cast of 3. It's a really long show, and it's all based in one...
Flick? Who's Flick?
It's
about a horse.
A Christmas story.
It's about
joke,
a horse.
See?
The show is...
My dog Flick?
The show is about these 3 people who work in this small movie theater. And
that was too obvious.
While they're in there, getting to know each other, all of these... social issues and things come out. It's a really heavy production, and I think it lasts like 2.5 hours or something like that, like 2.5, maybe 3 hours.
I'd have ripped it. Yeah.
But is that do you rip the performance or do you rip the show?
When I wrote about it, my editor came to me and he goes, "You should write a review about it." And I sort of told him, I feel like I'm the type of person who would do a parody of of a theater critic trying to do this. Like, if you ever saw Funny or Die did a skit about a theater critic of children's theater.
I'm going to watch it now.
Yo, it's so funny because he basically was like my theater teacher from back in high school. He was like you were awful, just awful.
Okay.
And
so is that what you did? You tore apart these university kids?
I thought
or high school students.
There's probably some high school students in the UT show too.
So what I do is I always approach it as if I was a parent who was thinking about going to this show, or I was somebody who was thinking about watching this show, what would I be in for? Well, you're going to be in for about 3 hours. That's what you're going to be in for. And I just warn them. I'm like, these are the issues it's going to explore. It's social commentary. Be prepared. If that's not your cup of tea, go see Laughter on the 23rd Floor, like some Neil Simon show or something like that, which is coming up next week. Don't see this show. Otherwise, here's how they approach it. Here's what it's about. And this is what you need to know. I'm not usually somebody who's very good about doing a theater criticism because, it's what have I done? Honestly, what have I done? Could I go up there and do it better? No? Well, then shut the hell up. It's like unless you go up there and you completely botch, like singing some line, then I don't think you should do it. Probably the closest thing I could probably critique was going back to Atchison. I remember one time they did a show, High School Musical. We were just singing.
That's where it's from?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know
all
that.
in this together.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
And they took like the cast from these two high schools. One high school, I hate to say it, had more talent than the other because the girl
That happens.
was immensely talented who played the main part. The guy they got to play Troy was from the public high school there, and he just didn't have the singing chops to pull it off. It was probably like my high school. There was probably not very many kids to choose from in the small town who could sing, and they're like, you're it. And then, but when he went to sing, it was just like, you don't have you're not going to be able to pull it off. You're out of breath by the second act, and you can't hold the high notes. That's unfortunate, but
he had long swoopy hair, so he got
and
the parts.
you would
Yeah.
write, and that's who you would write a scathing critique about.
I would do that, but I would more direct that at the organizers. Okay. I would just say, you know what? I hate to say it, but don't just say we're going to combine these two high schools and try to pick a main part from each one. Just
cause.
Just go with whoever can do it.
Yeah, because maybe the guy from the other school is better.
Yeah.
They just didn't do it, yeah.
Open it up to more schools or something.
Well, there's always politics.
Yeah.
That's the thing, especially in the schools.
So,
they tried.
So once a week or so, you have a column, and you also have a list of shows.
When does it come out?
It comes out on Thursday.
If we went to the Blade, what would we see? A story and maybe a column of shows coming up?
Usually, so what you're going to see is you're going to see photos for the next upcoming show. So, for example, at this
Thursday.
point, so we're doing this on.
Yeah, maybe don't say because they're going to date this.
Yeah. We're going to date this, yeah. So I won't. But what I try to do is I try to send a photographer out during what I call Hell Week, but I guess it's Tech Week. But
Week.
It's like the last week before the show goes up.
They might be in costume by then.
I try because I feel like if you're gonna see, like the preview of this is playing this weekend,
seeing, like previews before
actors in jeans.
I hate it. It's just my personal thing when I see theater groups posting oh, look at how good we're doing. I'm like, there's a bunch of crap all around you. I don't necessarily like that.
Or at least be on stage.
So you send a crew out and you get the pictures.
We send a crew out. I will usually try to interview either the director or, somebody from the show. It sort of depends. Like, there are some times where the people just aren't available before the show, and I will basically just try beforehand to get all the main information that I can from them, and then I will write about like this show coming up, based on what I know, like why this is a big deal for the show to be kind of going up, at this time or what have you. But so you'll see, photos hopefully from tech rehearsal where they're all in costume, they're all doing some of their main either musical numbers or scenes from the show, and then we'll kind of get again like why this is a big deal or why this is maybe something different that you haven't seen. Right now, what we're seeing a lot of is, hey, like this is the first show that these people have done since COVID started, since COVID was a thing. You should go see this show, like this, they've worked really hard. This has been in the works for a long time. This is the first show of the season. So we're getting a lot of that right now. So you're going to see an article about, all of the important things about this show, how you can get tickets and this and that. And then what we try to do is we try to run a calendar showing when all the other shows are coming up.
That's extremely helpful. That's extremely good for a theater in Toledo.
If you have a theater show coming up, Jeff Schmucker
Yes.
at theblade.com. Schmucker spelled just like the wonderful restaurant here in town.
Yes.
Or like calling somebody a schmuck with a little at the end of it.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Is that also how the jam is spelled?
No, that's Smuckers. They won't claim us. They won't claim me at all. But no, that's
So you don't have
It's
that
a great
Schmucker
service.
money, huh?
no.
That calendar is a great service to us. We love it.
And you know what? We just ran in the paper this past Sunday basically an art series where we had a calendar going into next summer or this summer in 2022, showing all the Broadway shows, all of the seasons that, for instance, Waterville and some of the others. These are all the shows going into spring, that sort of thing. So check it out online. It is available at ToledoBlade.com.
Yeah, at least get the Thursday paper. If you're a theater fan, get the Thursday paper.
Yeah.
Jeff will get you hooked up on all the cool articles about guys doing podcasts, Lily being in Christmas Carol, upcoming shows, all the cool shit. So that's what you want to do.
And it is a lot of fun. Like that, I really look forward to, like some things are really boring to have to write about. Like I said, when you're a reporter, some assignments are not your own. The great thing about being a theater columnist is that usually my editors come to me and, what are you writing about this week? So it's all up to me. So generally, I mean, that's the pressure's on to try to get, everything sort of, up and coming. But
Man, just be a damn professional. Get your stuff going. They don't need to supervise you, right? You're good.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now I've been in their shoes. Sometimes you do, because like my boss will be like, Jeff, it's Wednesday. I need that by noon. It's 11:59. Where the hell is it?
You'll have it in 1 minute. So what is a show that's coming up? I don't care. Like,
oh, I don't know.
No. Something that you would love to come into town, that you would want to, like a group to do or a high school to do or somebody to do, that you would just love to be able to talk to somebody about it, even if it's like a national tour.
I mean, first of all, obviously right now, if this is going to run in time,
Probably not. So
well, no matter what.
It doesn't matter.
You're
really allowed to love what you
I'm
love.
I'm so thankful that each year we do a Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah.
Which you guys just did your podcast on.
Thanks for listening, man.
Yeah. I keep track.
Yeah, Dylan and James are wonderful.
Yeah. And
Tom was okay.
yeah. I really love how last year not only did they put on a show, finally like a Rocky Horror show, but Janet was pregnant in the show, so they have this girl playing a virgin. It's like, oh, we have a pregnant Janet,
Lovely.
I think, but that's what theater's all about. You have stuff like that happen all the time. Or you'll have like the main person in your show during a musical. It's like, oh, they lost their voice. How are we going to sing this? I don't know. It's like, we'll wing it.
So is that what you want to cover? Rocky Horror? You want to? What's the thing?
I mean, I love Rocky Horror. So does my wife. Halloween is her favorite season.
Bunch of weirdos.
Yeah.
I know. We really are.
Theater of the bizarre.
Yeah. I'll tell you what show I'm really excited to eventually have come here. I really want Beetlejuice to come here from Broadway. I just think that'll be such an amazing show, and if we can start getting high schools to be able to start putting those on, I would love to see it.
Well, that's got some time, I think. That one's going to be a while. They just got a new theater up in New York, thank goodness. That they're going to be performing it in.
It might be here sooner than we think.
I hope not. I hope it actually stays out longer because I love the music in that show. I think it's such a spectacle that I just want it to be super successful.
I would still. I have not seen Wicked, so I always would love to see.
You call yourself a theater critic.
I know.
Do you cover the national tour shows at the Stranahan or Valentine?
I usually do write preview shows for them, like whenever they're coming in. That's the other wonderful thing about my job. I forgot to mention, which I haven't gotten
free stuff. You get free stuff?
No, but I get to interview some of the people who are coming, like I got to interview some of the people doing like Peter Pan, or Pan on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do Seth Rudetsky and Anna. I never could say her last name right. From Saturday Night Live. They were here. They did the Valentine Theater show last year. But
I don't know.
Seth was especially a wonderful interview. But he plays the piano. He and his husband do like a lot of like theater appreciation stuff from New York. Anna is the one. Do you remember watching Saturday Night Live?
Dude, I'm not going to be a good answer for this. So.
No, but do you remember the person?
Is it
who
Anna
played,
Kendrick? Then I don't know who it is. So.
No, do you remember
Anna
the skits
Green Gables?
when they would do like Martha Stewart? She played Martha Stewart a lot on.
Oh, dude, I don't watch anything.
You didn't watch that from like the early 2000s.
Look at me. I'm a loser. I don't know any of this stuff. Anna, her name is Anna?
Gassed. Oh, my God.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm really bad with
names.
names.
Is it Tina Fey? Then I don't know who it is. So.
She was around that time she was on there. That is one reason why it's good that I'm in print and I'm not in broadcast is because
Amy Poehler.
I'm horrible with names.
Anna Poehler.
That's it.
I nailed it. Anna Poehler.
Nailed it. I'm horrible with names. And
especially when you put me on the spot. Dick.
I know.
I'm like, what? I don't know anybody.
Well, that's what scares me because
I'm happy I know the local performer. So
before COVID, we used to do what was called the Blade briefing for your guys' competitor, which I won't mention because I'm your guest.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it.
But we used to do the Blade briefing
for 24.
Blade briefing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized I was like, doing broadcast journalism is hard. Like people would think it would be easy, but there's a reason a lot of us went into print. And so when we're standing up there, like I would.
Ron could be on TV, but I got a face for podcasts, so we're good.
Kyle's the brains, I'm the eye candy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to.
Trouble is, it's a podcast that no video. So.
And it pains me to say that, yeah, that's true.
But like I was always afraid whenever we would have to do like these recordings and stand there that I was going to forget the name of somebody I was talking about or some important statistic.
You could be just like Ron and I and just own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know.
We have never seen that show.
I received the best advice from, now he's retired. Dave Murray was our managing editor. And when I first started at the Blade, all the managers were the
Dave
ones.
Murray, I know. He was great in Ghostbusters. See, that's what I mean. See, if you name somebody I actually know, then I'm good to go.
Yeah, see, that's exactly right. No, but he told me, he goes, if they ask you a question you don't know the answer, just go, well, here's the thing to remember, and then say whatever you want to say. He goes, because they won't remember what the original question was. You'll just remember you saying, here's the thing to remember, and then blah, and then give them what they want, some important tidbit. They'll forget that you didn't answer the original question.
We just own it, man. We don't know. If we don't know something, we're like, never heard of it, man.
So as the Blade writer for musical theater, do you get a lot of free stuff?
Actually, it's not that I will get to go to the shows for free through like the theater groups, although like some people do offer, say, hey, I can like hold some tickets if you want to go see.
Yeah.
What I actually like to do is when we send the photographer to take photos of the of Hell Week or Tech Week.
The dress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like to sit there and watch them because to me, it doesn't ruin it, like if they stop or do whatever.
No,
I
me
love
too.
the
Yeah, me too.
behind-the-scenes stuff. I think it's great, and watching them laugh and carry on together, like when they're doing like some tech stuff or if they totally blow a line, they go, oh, wow.
I made that's like the fifth fart sound in this podcast. It's great.
Yes!
We are dads.
Yeah. Theater dads.
So your daughter is a TSA? She in Anastasia?
She is in Anastasia.
Oh.
And actually, that's for anybody who's thinking about getting into theater, what I always tell people, what I told my daughter is, actually, if you try out and they just want you to be, part of the ensemble or everything, it's the best. Don't sweat it, because being in a theater ensemble, that's when you have the most fun. Because usually the main musical numbers that people are going to remember, that's what you're in. And second of all, like that's when you're going to bond with all of the other people from the cast, because you guys are going to do like a bunch of crazy stuff, and you're going to be in like a lot of scenes, and anything that goes wrong, like you guys are going to be part of it and you're going to remember it. So, so if you don't get to be like the main character, when you're the main character, a lot of times they pull you aside and you have to do like a lot of these scenes separate from everybody. You miss out on all the memories and stuff. The one time, or one of the few times I was a main character, I was doing South Pacific, and I was the lieutenant in there who falls in love with
Cable.
Lieutenant Cable. Spoiler alert, he dies. And again, going back to what's tenors being the magical unicorn people, that was one of the main reasons I actually got that part, was because they needed a strong male lead with a high singing voice, somebody who could do this part. And they knew me, they knew I could do it, and so they came to me and said, "Hey, could you come down and like sing for us and like try out and see if you can get it?" I was like, "Great." I get to take my shirt off during a performance. You rarely get to do that.
Nice.
I get
check
to
out
do
these
that.
guns,
I
babes.
do that all the time.
Yeah.
Ron's is backstage shirtless.
Oh,
yeah.
Lots of times.
Everybody should be. I think.
Not so much for me.
No.
I'm good to go.
You know what? Again, own it. Dad bods are in.
Sure, I got a little bit
There's
more of a dad
never
bod,
been
though.
a better time to be a dad with dad bod, because, and what I love about being a dad is that it doesn't matter if you're out of style. Like when you're not a dad, and especially when you're single, you try to look like you're still cool. But when you're a dad, who cares? I mean, oh no, you're going to embarrass your kid. That's what I wanted to do anyways.
yes.
Like cargo pants, cargo shorts, that funny Hawaiian shirt with like the weird say. That's perfect. Wear it, own it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing back the fedora. I'm talking about
Oh, no.
the Indiana Jones style fedora.
News reporter fedora.
Oh, there
One-
you go.
oh my-
See? Get a little tag, put it in there, says
Journalist,
press on
press,
it. You're good to
yeah.
go, yeah.
One time
Clark Kent.
I was working late at night as again like a night city editor.
As a night theater reporter.
There was a shooting in Toledo.
This
Fortunately,
is not theater related,
fortunately,
man. This
no.
better pick up
but here's the
fast.
funny thing: nobody was killed. So they were looking for the guy. They thought they had him in this building.
Was it John Wilkes Booth?
No. So there was no other person to go, and so I threw on, and I went to work. It was like a Saturday, so I'm wearing like a
cargo
like a
shorts.
trench coat.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
wearing a like a duster
Oh,
my,
boy.
my wife won't let me wear it to schools because she says it looks like I'm there for no good.
Ah.
But I was also wearing my Indiana Jones fedora
He's
with
got
it.
Columbo over here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that was the thing. And I'm wearing like these cowboy boots because it's like September, October. And I go down to the scene first of all, like the people there, because anytime there's SWAT like around this house, right? And I arrive there, and then all these people are like, "What are you, a detective?"
Yeah, did you get the flip pad out and lick the end of the pen? Let me get that
I
on
did.
here.
I had like my pad, and I had, but then like these people were there, like, "What are you, a detective?" And that's when I realized I was like, if there is somebody in this house and he wants to kill a cop, who's he gonna probably shoot? He's like, there's this jackass with a fedora. I'm taking him out.
Take this damn coat off.
So
His hat off.
I at least took the hat off. Funny thing is that they were all out there. The whole house was empty. It was a bad tip. So we were all out there, like
Bad tip.
we were in the rain. Like it's pouring out. And there's all these like SWAT guys outside this house. We're all waiting out there. There's nobody in there.
I don't know. It reminds me. That whole story reminds me of like Tuck Everlasting, the sidekick kid who sings this song. He's like the first crime in town, and he has no idea what he's doing. That's what you remind me of. You're doing this, like, oh, there's some footprints. Oh, wait, those are mine.
Yeah, that would be me. But that again, I came back to the office. You have to write it up. What do you write about? Well, I'm going to write about the fact
I went to
that
the wrong house.
all these SWAT people are moving out and like being like, come out, and there's nobody there. They're like talking to an empty house for like 30 minutes to an hour.
And it was not John Wilkes Booth, because we got to try and make this at least about theater.
Yes.
How are we going off on a tangent here?
There's a stage play with John Wilkes Booth in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Assassins by that guy.
Here's the funny thing.
Sondheim.
If you work for a newspaper, even if you're a theater columnist, chances are you're going to have to do like cover like some other like crazy thing, and it's going to be all tied to it. And even if it's not at the time tied to theater, it might make for some sort of weird theater column topic one day, just because it's a funny story and it matches up in some like funny way with a show that somebody's doing, maybe
like
about
Assassins.
Theater of the Bizarre.
Assassins, or we're going to have the Edgar Allan Poe series coming up here soon. Around
Who's
Halloween.
doing that? Is that the Village?
Yes.
Black Smoke
Yes.
Village.
The Village doing that.
Village Players is, and if I'm wrong, I apologize.
No, I think it is the Village. Because I hope I didn't just throw out the wrong one.
If he's wrong, I apologize.
Yeah, it would be the first time.
Yeah. But that's is the house empty? Is it not? You're talking. The SWAT guys are probably saying the same thing.
Oh, see,
See,
it's real life.
You
theater.
you can tie that in somehow. But no, writing theater columns. I think another thing that's great is that just about anybody could do it. Like, if something happened to me, or anybody offers me another job and I go do that and I'm no longer doing it, they're going to need another theater columnist. Lots of different people can pick up and say, I could write a theater column. You can. Anybody can. And so I did not think that I was going to come back and be the theater columnist for the Blade. I was kind of jumping around, helping out in different departments at the time. And Mike Pearson, our features editor, came to me and said, hey, our theater columnist, Sue Brickney, is going to be retiring. Would you like to do it? You were in the Christmas Carol. You already know some of the people. And actually, it turns out you end up knowing a bunch because they're all connected. All of these people from all these different theaters go there. So I actually did have a good start knowing people. Jeff Albright was in Christmas Carol. All of a sudden, as I start looking up these names, I go, who should I call for this? Oh, I was in Christmas Carol with that guy. I was like, that girl. I was like, what luck? I was like, we know each other. It's easy. And it was as simple as that. Them just approaching me saying, would you be willing to take over writing this? And so there I was. And I actually had a lot of the same questions you guys asked me. It's like, well, what if I have to write a review for this? How would I write it? Well, I'm probably going to take it as a spoof on writing theater reviews, and I'm just going to do it this way. Or I'm going to ask the question of, I'm a parent. Should I take my kid to go see this? No. Oh, there's, talk of nudity or this, that, or the other. It's really depressing. No, I won't do that. So I'll usually ask that every time. And people know to even tell me now. They'll go, oh, I wouldn't bring your kid to such and such if they're under 16. But, really that's a lot of what it's about, is talking to the audience and saying, this is a big, cool deal. It's a cool thing. You're usually not going to see a show like this, something along that sort. And then answering those questions. Should I bring my kid to it? Is it a happy play? Even though it has a happy sounding name, it's like, no, it's not. But go see it anyway, because when, how often do you get to go see, great shows like this? In around the Toledo area, probably all the time, but you might as well just experience as much of it as you can. Because as we saw with COVID, even with an area that has such rich theater stuff here, who knows, there could be something that causes a long hiatus, so you might as well just take advantage of it while you can.